Hello everyone, this is Assistant Professor Divya Shetlur. We are here to discuss about the subject Management of Industrial Relations and Labor Legislations. This subject is covered under Semester 9 under the specialization of Human Resources. The subject is divided into 4 different modules. First module talks about industrial relations, the meaning of industrial relations, definitions, characters, factors affecting industrial relations, approaches, its objectives, dimensions of industrial relations, participations and participants in industrial relations process, and industrial relations and its effect on productivity. In the module 1, we would be studying about Industrial Disputes Act 1947, under which Industrial Disputes Act we would be studying about the contents of Industrial Disputes Act, the terms, terminologies, definitions, objectives of Industrial Disputes Act, various methods and authorities under the Industrial Disputes Act for resolutions of disputes, provisions with respect to strikes, retrenchment, layoff, lockouts, special provisions relating to layoff, retrenchment and closure, the related offences and penalties, important Supreme Court judgments and Supreme Court cases on industrial disputes, workmen, strikes, etc. Under Module 2, we would be studying about Industrial Employment, that is Standing Orders Act 1946, under which we would be studying its objectives, definitions, terminologies, model standing order, procedure for approval of standing orders, modification of standing orders, certifying officers, subsistence allowance, offences and its penalties. Under the same module, we would also be studying about Contractual Labour, its Regulation and Abolition Act 1970. Under the Act, we would be studying about the Act's application, establishments, definitions, jurisdictions of the government, central and state advisory boards, registration of the establishment, licensing of contractors, prohibition of employment and contractual labor, welfare and health of contractual labor, liabilities of the principal, employer and the inspecting staff, its offences and penalties. Under the same module, we would also be studying about Shops and Establishments Act 1948. Under the Act, we would be studying about objectives, definitions, terms, terminologies, registrations of establishments, health and safety procedures, leave with pay, opening and closing hours of establishments, employment of young children, young persons and women, offences and penalties. Module 3 talks about Factories Act 1948, under which we would be studying its objectives, definitions, terms and terminologies associated with the Act, provisions regarding health, safety and welfare procedures of workers, hazardous processes, working hours for men, women and adolescents, restriction on employment of women and children, annual leave with wages, and offences and penalties related to the Factories Act. Under the same module, we would also be studying about the concept of collective bargaining. We would here study about the concept of collective bargaining, the definition, its characteristics, process of collective bargaining, prerequisites that are necessary for successful collective bargaining, types of collective bargaining, functions and factors that obstruct collective bargaining scenario in India, assessment of the same with Indian context, and suggestions for better functioning of collective bargaining. Under Module 4, we would be studying workers' participation in management, wherein we would see the concept, its evolution, statutory and non-statutory forms of workers' participation in management, levels of workers' participation in management, assessment of the same with Indian context, necessary conditions for effective working of workers' participation in management. Under the same module, we would also be studying about the concept of discipline of workers. Its meaning, definitions, terms, characteristics, objectives, types, principles, and procedures for disciplinary action and punishment. We would also be here studying about the difference between disciplining and punishment, intervention by tribunals, and also codes of discipline in India. Under the same module, we would be studying about grievance handling, its concept, causes, definitions, objectives of grievance handling, its importance, and formal grievance handling procedures. Finally, we would be studying about sexual harassment of women in workplace. Under this, we would be understanding the nature of problem, that is, what is sexual harassment, what is the context of it within the working environment, and most importantly, Supreme Court's judgment and guidelines on the same issue. Thank you.